Joining me now for more on this story, Zack Taylor, chairman of the National Association of Former Border Patrol Officers. Zack, we thank you for calling in this morning from Arizona. Dark and early out there here on America's Forum. We appreciate your call, sir.
Good morning, JD. How you doing?
Doing fine, Zack, but interested in the status of what's happening in southern Arizona. Give us the latest. What are you seeing and hearing there on the ground?
Well, the big problem as far as the people of America is concerned is that the borders are even less guarded right now because the Border Patrol agents have been pulled off the border to do custodial duties for these illegal aliens from Central America.
So in essence, they're running a babysitting service, taking care of the detention center, putting on diapers, feeding the minors who are there, doing everything but protecting the border.
Exactly. And the problem is that quite a few of these aliens that are coming from Texas to Arizona either have not been screened medically, or the obvious problems, the medical problems they had, were not addressed and made known to the agents. And some of them are coming up with some health problems due to having to interact with these groups. I understand that the local Border Patrol station here in Nogales is handling up to 800 people at a time.
So they get 800 people at a time. These people present a public health risk. Now the agents are being infected. Zack, obviously you're from the Association of Former Border Patrol Agents, but you have a chance to talk with agents currently on duty. Is that their biggest frustration, the risk of getting ill? If you had to rank their frustrations, what would we be hearing from current Border Patrol agents?
I think they're so frustrated they wouldn't know where to begin telling you. They've been under attack by this administration on various fronts, and an operation called administrative interference with them doing their jobs for several years now, which includes interfering with their pay, the false flag of sequestration, the administration trying to force them away from their traditional overtime regimen, and just generally forcing them to reduce the hours that they work while doing something called top-down management, where Washington tries to tell them where they should be and what they should do on a daily basis.
Speaking of that top-down management, Zack, yesterday the Secretary of Homeland Security, Jay Johnson, showed up on Meet the Press. I'd like to listen to part of what turned out to be a very contentious conversation with David Gregory concerning deportation of these illegal minors, and then get your feedback after listening to the comments. Let's take a listen.
There is a deportation proceeding that is commenced against illegal migrants, including children. We are looking at ways to create additional options for dealing with the children in particular, consistent with our laws and our values.
I'm trying to get an answer to, will most of them end up staying, in your judgment?
I think we need to find more efficient, effective ways to turn this tide around generally, and we've already begun to do that.
All right.
Now, Zack, David Gregory pressed the issue on NBC's Meet the Press yesterday. Secretary Johnson stayed within the talking points. Do you believe this administration has any intention of deporting these illegal minors who have come in recent months?
Well, from their actions, no, because they're scattering them throughout the population of the United States in various states, and putting the local school systems and people on notice that these kids will be attending school in August and September. So no, they have, which by the way is more than 30 days away. So they know they're going to be here, and once they're embedded in the population of the United States, the likelihood they'll be removed is somewhere between -1 and 0.
Well, Zack, John Bachman chiming in here, and I wanted to ask you because Democratic Congressman Henry Cuellar said yesterday that he thought that the administration was a step behind on all this. Of course, there's others who are saying this is part of a plot that the administration orchestrated to get these folks to come into this country. Which one do you think is the more likely scenario here, that the administration was a step behind and wasn't quick enough to react to what they should have seen coming, or that they're actually trying to get these people into this country to further their political motives?
The latter. There is no doubt that this is intentional, that it is orchestrated and overseen by the White House and President Obama when he went on world TV the other day and said that it doesn't make good sense to enforce our immigration laws. He put this immigration on steroids. Right now, the number being reported that is being held in front of you is 52,000 minors. We should be talking about 300,000.
Now, as people, continue to wake up to this, and more of America tunes in, as they have a conversation or if they write to their congressman, what does the Border Patrol need now? Is it more boots on the ground? Is it more funding? What does the Border Patrol need most at this juncture to turn back this tide?
They need the people of the United States to become educated on what is actually going on. What is happening is that the administration is managing this crisis, and they're only putting out information and letting people talk that support a position that they want. The agents who talk to these people on a daily basis know that what the administration is putting out is a false narrative designed to appeal to the compassionate side of the American people. And what is happening is this is like putting the fox in the hen house. These illegal aliens are part of a plan to overwhelm the infrastructure of the United States and to give the administration the opportunity to use brute force, if necessary, to impose their will.
Zack, two things in the answer you just gave I want to follow up on. First of all, the notion that the American people need to get familiar with the issue, and then you just use the term brute force. Well, last week in Murrieta, California, we saw an entire city, it seemed, reacting to plans to bring illegals to their community. They not only said no, but pardon the language, they said hell no. Now we're hearing reports if there's a similar confrontation, federal law enforcement will move to stop the citizenry from gathering there. As one who ensured the security of our borders during your days as a Border Patrol officer, what is your reaction to news that federal law enforcement will be there to quell any type of demonstration?
Well, J.D., remember that in my time frame, I was Ruby Ridge. Ruby Ridge and Waco happened. Those were situations where excessive force was applied when it was not necessary, and a false flag was created prior to those events before they took place. People that I know personally were first responders at Ruby Ridge, and others were the first cleanup crew at Waco. So I have a view of what is possibly going on that nobody else that you'll talk to has. I think that because of all the riot training gear and the MRAPs that are being spread around the country, and these, like in Tennessee a year and a half ago, where Federal Protective Services and the local county sheriffs and state police were doing roadblocks and stopping citizens and talking to them without authority, points to the fact that we're probably looking at they are planning on provoking the American people to the point that they create a false flag and have the opportunity to use force. I think this administration wants that. I think they're planning for it. And I think that a few people need to take notice and watch what they're doing a little closer. And you may or may not know that Federal Protective Services went to California in the last few weeks and actually closed down the VA hospital and would not let patients and personnel in and out for several hours. The things that are going on that are not being reported are a whole lot more troubling than what is being focused on.
And Zack Taylor, that's why we will be calling on you in the days ahead to get stories that warrant attention, because after all, we're not the media, we're Newsmax TV, and we appreciate your time. We look forward to visiting with you again. I'll tell you, John, a very sobering assessment from Zack Taylor there on the Arizona border.
Yeah, and there, despite the increase in volume from both sides on this issue, it continues, and there doesn't seem to be any end in sight.
Well, we'd like to get your take on what should be done. Do you agree with Zack Taylor? Why don't you tweet us your comments at Newsmax TV, hashtag America's Forum. There's also email and Facebook. Miranda Kahn joins me when we come back as we get an intelligence assessment.